All right, so we continue with the Vroom's valence expectancy theory. So basically we got to a stage where we understood that effort must lead to outcome. First time he wants to report on A, B, and C, 10 times effort, 2 times reward. Second time, 10 times effort, 2 times reward. Third time, I'm basically going to reduce the effort because there's very little reward or outcome. Effort must lead to outcome. So basically, take the previous report, slap it together, and put in 4 times effort, 2 times reward. Okay, I'm being ripped off, but it could be worse. And that's pretty much his theory. However, it gets interesting. Let's imagine the following week I get to work. Let's imagine I work in a tall building, and I get into the lift, and I'm going up to one of the top floors. And I'm on my own in the lift, and then 2 people get in. One is called the CEO, the other one is called the CFO. They do not know me, but I know them. And I'm standing quietly in the lift, and as the lift is slowly going up the different floors, past the different floors, I hear the CEO saying to the CFO, we need to make a decision on A, B, and C. It is, on X, Y, and Z. On X, Y, and Z, it is now urgent. I happen to remember this. A couple of hours later, my boss comes to me, says, I want to report on X, Y, and Z. And something triggers in my memory bank saying, okay, this is what the CEO needs to make a decision on. This is something that is crucially important to the CEO, and he's the most important person in the company. So therefore, what am I going to do in this report? Chances are I'm going to put in immense effort because this would look very good for me. If the CEO is reading this and he's saying, who did this? This is excellent. That would be good for me. And therefore, what would you find is there's a hugely valuable outcome or potentially valuable outcome. And therefore, you will find a high level of effort. So now you might find 12 times effort. All right. Why? Because the outcome will be very, very positive. And that is from, in simple terms, mainly Vroom's valence expectancy theory. There's still one concept I need to add. But let's be cynical for a moment. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I save the report as a PDF so my boss can't put his name on the report. But that's just being cynical. Effort must lead to outcome. As I said, there's another component we need to add. And the other component is that effort must lead to outcome, but the outcome must be valued. In other words, if I put in a lot of effort and you give me a lot of outcome, but I do not value the outcome, it's not something that I value, it's not something important to me, well, then I'm not going to put in the effort. Simple terms, if you had to say to my wife, you put in a great effort, you do a great job on this particular task, and there's a golfing weekend for you, she's going to say, and? That's not something that is valuable to her. However, if you said to me, put in a lot of effort and we've got a weekend to Sun City, we're going to play the different golf courses, we're going to have a great time, that would be valuable to me. So effort must lead to outcome, and the person or the people must value the outcome. Vroom's valence expectancy theory. And so therefore we've looked at a number of the different theories. And what do we get? Herzberg, we need to understand hygiene and motivational. Maslow, we need to understand the different layers, the hierarchy levels, and the fact that if we don't know where our people are at, we can't really work with them effectively. McClellan talks power, achievement, and affiliation. Intrinsic is valuable because it says it's got to come from within, but we cannot motivate, but we need to create the right environment for people to be motivated. Goal setting. If you aim for nothing, if you've got nothing to aim for, you're going to aim for nothing. But you need to have the big goal as well as the small goal. You need to understand the broad objectives of the organization, the department, and yourself. And then Vroom's valence expectancy theory, which we just concluded. My view on these is there is merit to every one of these theories. Okay, merit to all of them. However, unfortunately, there's no perfect theory. There's no one theory that I can say, take Herzberg, or take McClellan, or take goal setting, and everybody will be motivated. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. What does it mean? It means that you as a manager need to have a clear understanding of each of these theories. And not just the theoretical understanding of the theories, the practical understanding. You've got to be able to understand Herzberg in terms of hygiene factors and motivational factors. You need to understand what they are for your people. You need to know what are the things that are pulling your people down. What are the things that are motivating your people. You need to understand Maslow. You need to understand McClellan. You've got to be able to go through each of the people reporting to you and say, who's got the need for achievement? Who's the power person? Who's the affiliator? How am I working with these people? You've got to understand intrinsic motivation and the environment you have to create, which I'll still come back to later. You've got to be able to make sure there's big goals and small goals, etc., etc. So the key issue is not just being able to recite the theories, but really to work with these theories and understand them in the context of your work environment. And you need to know them all, because there's no perfect theory. The next thing that you have to do is you then have to know your people. Right? You cannot motivate people when you don't even know who they are. You cannot motivate people when they are just a number. So you need to know your people, you need to know the theories, and you are continuously working with this. It's a cauldron of information. It's huge information that continuously gets added to, and then you throw some out and you bring in new information. But you've got this awareness in your mind of the theories and all of those factors. You know your people, and you know that this one responds to that, and that one responds to this, and this one likes this, and that's frustrating this guy, and that's making that person happy. And this one understands the goals at a detail level, not at a macro level. And effort leads to outcome, and you need to know your people, you need to know the theories. And that is very simple if you're managing 4, 5, 6 people, maybe even 8. But when we give you a team of 13 or 20, that's really, really tough. All right, that's really tough. But you need to know your people, you need to know the theories, you need to put the two together, and you're continuously working with these. It's not a linear process of do A, then B, then C. It's a continuous mix of issues, and you are juggling these issues continuously. That is why management is complex. Right? You need to know those people, and you need to be able to manage them effectively. And that then brings me to what I think is possibly the most important but most difficult thing that you need to do as a manager of people. It sounds impossible. It is almost impossible, but it is possible. The first thing that you have to do, I think, is easy to understand, not always easy to do, but the first thing you have to do is you have to treat everyone the same. Meaning there cannot be favoritism. You cannot be treating one person better than others. You cannot be spending more time with this one than the other one. Everyone is the same. You have to treat people the same. Right? That's the first thing you've got to do. No favoritism. And once you've done that and you've created a platform where your people trust you and they know that you will treat them all fairly and equally, they know that if they've done a good job, you will recognize. They know that if they have a problem, you will be there to help them. They know also that if they've not performed, you will be tough on them, right? It's not just about being the nice guy. There has to be that basic sense that my boss treats me fairly and we are all treated the same. The next thing, and this is where it becomes really nice and interesting and complex, the next thing you've got to do after you've treated everybody the same is you have to then treat everybody differently. Sounds impossible. Is almost impossible, but is possible. And so we are saying you need to treat everyone the same and treat everyone differently. Just think about that. It is almost impossible, but it is possible. In other words, everyone's treated the same. Everyone is equal. There's no favoritism. But as much as I'm treating everyone the same, and they know that I respect all of them, and I value all of them, and I treat them fairly, they also know that, hey, this guy responds to A, and she responds to B, and that's okay. They know that this person does that, and he does that, and that I'm going to recognize them differently, and they know that's okay. And because they know that they are treated well themselves. So you treat them the same, you treat everyone differently, and that, in my view, is one of the biggest challenges for you as a manager, and it's one of the most valuable things to do and to get right if you can get it right. Okay, treat them the same, treat them differently. And that's pretty much an overview on the theories of motivation. Simple terms, no perfect theory, you need to know them all. And then what we need to do is we then need to go back and have a look again at a practical application, and we go back to the case study of Aztec, and we have a look at how do we apply these theories in practical terms. And let's have a look at some of these. In Aztec, if I am managing people in Aztec and I say, how am I going to motivate these people in Aztec and how do I use Herzberg? Herzberg is directly applicable to Aztec. Because if we look at Herzberg, hygiene factors versus motivational factors, have a look at Aztec. What are the hygiene factors in Aztec? Excuse me, remember, hygiene factors are the factors that take people from zero and take them to negative. They are the things that rob motivation. They are the things that frustrate people. They are the things that bring people down. Motivational factors take people from 0 to plus. It moves from a neutral level to an engaged level, a motivated level, an excited level. If you look at Aztec, there are 101 hygiene factors. Give you an example. Let's take a look at a guy called John Davies. He's the production manager, not the nicest guy. He's the one who's telling me who I should hire and fire. But if we have a look at that guy with some empathy and picture John Davies driving to work on a typical day. And John Davies, like many of us, is thinking about the day and what is going to happen today. And if you were John Davies and you were driving to work at Aztec as the production manager and you were saying what's going to happen today, you can be pretty sure that the following thoughts would be going through his mind. He would be saying, you know what's going to happen typically? I'm going to get to work within an hour or two of starting the shift. I'm going to hear that, guess what? Some of the machines are broken down. I'm going to try and get them fixed, and then somebody's going to say, oh, but we don't have the right spares in stock. And that means I'm not going to get the machines running, which means I'm not going to hit my production targets, which means I'm probably going to get my butt kicked because I didn't hit my production targets. You can imagine how frustrated he is. He also is pretty sure we won't have the right raw material in stock. When I do get the machines running, you can see 101 hygiene factors. And when you read that case study, you do not get the impression of any motivational factors. You don't get the impression I don't see praise, encouragement, recognition for anything. So you can see how you can apply this theory to Aztec. You would want to minimize hygiene, maximize motivational. I cannot just go out and buy new machines in Aztec because we do not have the financial resources to do so. But maybe I can find some way to do some kind of blitz maintenance, some kind of quick maintenance, get the machines running. Let's at least have the right raw material in stock. Right? Let's try and have the right spares in stock. Let's try and get the computer fixed for the the planning guy. And what I'm trying to do is eliminate the things that are frustrating the people. And let's try and find some motivational factors, some things we can do to create some enthusiasm, some passion within that organization, some recognition, employee of the month, something like that. So we can see how we can use Herzberg. McClelland is another one that's interesting to apply to Aztec. We've got a need for power, achievement, and affiliation. And take a look at the people in Aztec. Give it some thought, who in Aztec has a need for power? Now remember, we haven't even met these guys, but just from the emails that we've read, who seems to have a need for power? Just from the writing and the way they've expressed themselves, in my view, somebody like John Davies has a need for power. He should be fired. He's useless. Quibus Taron, the maintenance guy, also seems to have a need for power. So I can already get a feel, and obviously I'm going to test it once I meet the people, but I've already got a feel. I've got a theory, a hypothesis in my mind of what seems to motivate this guy or that guy. Who in Aztec has a need for affiliation? And again, we haven't met them, but if we have a look at, what is his name, Leon Fenter, nobody likes me, nobody's talking to me, perhaps there's a bit of a need for affiliation. So you could use Herzberg, you could use McClelland. To a degree, you might use Maslow. Goal setting, they don't even have job descriptions, do they know what their goals are? Vroom's valence expectancy theory, if I put in effort, I'm going to get nothing anyway. You can see almost a sense of helplessness in Aztec. So the point I'm trying to make is you need to not only understand the theories and apply them in your work environment, you need to be able to apply them in a practical way, because that gives you a practical opportunity of then trying to address the needs of people, and in so doing, hopefully to motivate. You would certainly want to try and create an environment in Aztec that is conducive to motivation, going back to intrinsic motivation, which says I can't motivate anyone, but I can create an environment where it is a positive and it is conducive and a person wants to do their job. So what are we seeing is many theories, value to all, no perfect one. You need to understand them, you need to know your people, but you need to be able to apply them in practical terms, not just as theories. And that's pretty much the information on motivation. We're going to go on later into the environment we need to create for intrinsic motivation. We need to look at how to develop people, how to empower people, and also how to monitor and control people. That's it for this session.